Good morning, guys. Hope you're doing well. Today I want to talk about the question, can friends with benefits work? Before I get started, I just want to thank the person who suggested this topic to me. It's a great question, especially for young adults. For some background, in recent years through movies like No Strings Attached and Friends with Benefits, this concept of two friends physically having a relationship but not emotionally committing has gained more attention. For me, when I hear this, um, and my friend even brought this up to me, my first question was why? Why do you want to enter into a friends with benefits relationship? If you have a physical attraction to someone and you're their friend, why not just add the emotional and, commitment aspects of, you know, a girlfriend or boyfriend relationship? And my friend was honest. I want the ability to hook up with other people. And I challenged him again. I said, why? And my friend said, I don't know. I just like having the option, and it's fun to know I can, um, theoretically hook up with whoever I want to. Again, I'm not going to judge people on lifestyle choices. If having the option to hook up with multiple people is fun for you, then do you. I think what my point is you have to evaluate how much of that mindset is something that you've gained as a result of the media and society, and how much is that actually your own desires, right? In our society, especially for guys, like being a player, a guy who gets a lot of girls is cool, based off of, movie portrayals, TV shows, how we cover, certain prominent celebrities, even you look at songs and things like that. So for me is, when that is what you're learning as an individual growing up, that's going to have an effect on you. So is it that that's really what you want, or is it that society has made that cool? Um, I think that intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. There's a funny interview of the great NFL quarterback Roger Staubach, and I'll put the clip in the show notes. But basically, this media member asks him, you're this all American guy, husband and father. Is that an image hard to uphold? And Roger actually challenges her. He says, you know, the questions like you asked to Joe Namath, another NFL quarterback who was, more portrayed by the media as a player. Um, you asked Joe about sex. And listen, I enjoy sex as much as Joe Namath does. I just do it with one girl, meaning his wife. And I remember watching this clip. It's part of the NFL's A Football Life, a documentary series on great NFL players, coaches, um, and saying to myself, this was, I'd have to look back, but it might have came out in like 2014. But at the time, it was like the first time I had heard someone talk about it being cool to be committed to, like, oh, your wife or one person. I had grown up hearing so many lines about, how it's cool to go to the club and pick up multiple girls. Um, but I hadn't heard this perspective at that point in my life. All this is to say, I guess, why I'm saying all this is make sure when you say you want to have options, it's actually an intrinsic motivation from yourself and not an extrinsic based on the way you grew up and the media that was taught to you based on, what your friends value. I mean, that might be a big thing. If the friends around you all value, the number of girls you hooked up with, then that might have an effect on you. I think the main thing in my life, as I've learned in adult life, is unlearning is a huge part of being an adult, and it's hard to unlearn when you've been groomed and taught, certain things. It's hard to break out of those. The second thing I would say, so after the intrinsic, extrinsic, second thing I would say is stop avoiding feelings. A second common answer I hear on why people want, friends with benefits is they say, I don't want the weight, the commitment of a relationship. And then again, when I challenge why, it's, oh, I don't want to deal with that burden. You know, and sometimes I'll buy it, that answer, but sometimes I won't. I think in a lot of these situations, it's not the commitment that scares people, it's the emotions of letting someone in. Um, our generation, people that kind of grew up with social media in their, teens and so forth, I feel like a lot of us are afraid of catching feelings because we associate feelings with a lot of negative things, um, that can lead to, like, love can lead to irrationality, in terms of being dependent or quote unquote clingy to someone. It can lead to trust issues. It can eventually lead to a breakup. Um, and like to all of you who don't want to let your guard down, I get it. And especially if you've been hurt in the past from being in a relationship, it's hard to trust someone. It's hard to let someone in and let them see your full self. And it's not always fun having feelings and being irrational. That being said, avoiding feelings isn't a way to live life. To find a great partner and to find great love, you have to trust someone and you have to give them, your entire love. Um, all the benefits of a great relationship and great love come with the risk of heartbreak and breakup. That's just the way it is. And every risk that you take in life, there are rewards and there are possible headaches. In this case, the rewards could be you end up in a beautiful long-term relationship and marry the person. But the heartaches are, you could have a tough emotional breakup and things like that. You know, I, I think people trying friends with benefits need to think about, is it the commitment or is it I don't want to catch feelings? I think that's the second reflection. If you've now reflected on both these things and said, yes, I do want a friends with benefits relationship, and it's not because, of the way I grew up and how we look at players, and it's not because I don't want to feel, I'll say, okay, fine. And here are the two scenarios, at least right now in my thinking, where I think friends with benefits makes sense. First, if you're unsure where the two of you will be geographically. And second, if you're at a place in your life where you don't want to emotionally commit. So for the first one, I think if you're in school and you're not sure, where you'll be next year, for example. If you're a senior in college, if you're someone in graduate school or medical school, even a working professional who's looking for a new job and could end up geographically anywhere. If you're in a situation where you could literally be moving, cross country next year, then I think yes, I would say it's okay to enter into a friends with benefits relationship, because getting into an emotionally committed relationship might not be the best thing if you literally might not geographically be in the same area, whatever it is, 4 months from now. Um, I think for B, what I'll say there is if you've just broken up, from a long-term relationship and it's, been 3 or 4 months or whatever, but you're still not ready um, emotionally to enter into a relationship. Um, if you have a friend who had a similar timing of breaking up with their long-term relationship, I think at that point it's okay for you to enter into a friends with benefits relationship, um, because both of you are trying to emotionally heal. You don't want to make any emotional commitments. It makes sense to enter into a strictly physical arrangement. The third thing I would say, I think the question had this aspect of how do I make sure it doesn't get messy? And much like any other good relationship, it's about communication. If the communication is clear from the beginning, I don't think any dramas or fights should happen. I don't think the friendship will be lost. And I think what goes on with that is really having ground rules set from the beginning of what's acceptable, what's not, in terms of texting, in terms of seeing other people, in terms of, telling people about the relationship, in terms of how many times you want to hang out, or, you know, if parties want to end the friends with benefits relationship, how should that be done? Like, every variable where you think emotion can arise, of being upset, I think you should talk about those things. And I know, again, going back to our generation and feelings and all that, people hate to have these communications because it's tough. But I'll tell you, if you truly care about the friend that you're having this friends with benefits relationship with, and you want to maintain that friendship no matter what, you should definitely have this conversation in the beginning before you start anything, to absolutely minimize any possibility of someone getting hurt, upset. And as time goes on, you can bring those up. I mean, if things evolve and you want to bring up, I think the beginning point can be the starting point, and as time goes on, you can continue to communicate. um, those are my thoughts on friends with benefits. Let me know what you think. Are there any other scenarios that you think friends with benefits is appropriate, that I didn't mention? Or do you have any reaction to my questioning of people's motivation, with intrinsic connections? Like, let me know. I know this is a big topic for young adults, so I'm happy to do a follow-up if necessary. Thanks, guys.